It's JDB here with another video. I know I've talked about this before, but I felt compelled to make another video on this particular subject because of just the way that there's some things I've seen men say to other men who are overweight or who are fat. I was watching football and I noticed how the commentators like to make fun of the bigger players, like the offensive linemen or defensive linemen, and they're constantly making jokes. Uh, basically picking on the way that they look. Basically clowning them, talking about how they want to eat burgers and how they can't run that fast. Just the type jokes, right? Now, if these same gentlemen said these things about women, they would have been fired. They would have been outraged from feminists saying that you're fat shaming. The media would have been all over this. They wouldn't be able to get another job in sports. But it's okay to say all kinds of things about overweight men or fat men. And these guys really aren't even fat. They're just big. A lot of those guys could lose weight tomorrow if they wanted to. Because in sports, you have to keep your weight at a certain amount. A lot of those guys aren't even naturally big. They just put on weight through college and then through the NFL, and the way they eat, they have to keep a certain weight. There's been guys who once they retire, they lose their weight quickly because they're not naturally big people, you know. So I just find it interesting how these guys feel so comfortable, quote unquote, fat shaming other men, but they wouldn't dare say this about women. Unless you know the double standard we have in society that we can fat shame men, but we can't fat shame women because we have to consider the feelings of men who are too lazy to go exercise. Now, I'm talking about men in the NFL. I'm not talking about average men, but we do see men, basically talk about other men who are fat or overweight. You know, it's all good to talk about overweight men. Men have to be in shape. Men can't be fat, but in society, women can be fat. Women can be overweight because they're women. And that double standard, that bothers me, and it should bother you as well. There should be no reason in the world why other men should be basically fat shaming other men. It's just ridiculous. I can understand if a female was doing it because maybe she's not attracted to overweight men or fat men. But to see other men talk about other men, and I know why they do it, because they're afraid. A lot of these guys who love to talk about overweight or fat men is because they are afraid that that fat man would kick his ass. He feels like a bitch. So if you feel like a bitch, you're going to react at, cracking jokes, clowning, because that's all you can do. We all know this. How many of us have seen smaller guys try to bully bigger guys because they're afraid that that guy's going to kick their ass? That's why I have no sympathy for a lot of these young dudes, a lot of these small dudes who pick fights and get beat down, because you get what you ask for. Stop trying to act tough. And it's very annoying to see other men basically not really crack jokes, but trying to fat shame other men. Like they're not trying to be attractive to you. But a lot of these guys, they feel inferior to bigger men. And we all know this. Now, I know y'all gonna disagree. I don't care. Because I know what I have seen growing up. I was in high school, I was bigger than a lot of other people. So I understood when people would try to come at me, I knew it was because they were afraid of me. So I've seen this firsthand. all on the only power they had was to crack jokes. That's it. And I understood also a lot of those guys were raised by single mothers. And they saw their mothers talk crap about fat men. But that was because she wasn't attracted to them. What's your excuse? What is your excuse? Why are you trying to fat shame other men, sir? Are you attracted to smaller men? I just wanted to really expand on that, because there's women being fat shamed because they need to be, because they have the means and the resources to get in shape, because you have an obesity rate that is affecting women a lot more than it's in. I see fat ass women every time I leave out the house. Everywhere I go, there's fat women. I don't really see a lot of overweight or fat men. And I live in the South, and I just don't see it. I see a lot of overweight, out of shape women, but I don't see it in men. This is why society wants you to accept women as being fat over obese, because there are a lot of fat and obese women. See, we as men get shamed into getting in shape. We get shamed into being more physically appealing to these heifers. You can't tell me how many times I've seen men who are in shape, who are damn near skinny, dating women who are 2 to 3 times bigger than they are. It's a fetish, I don't know. But it's very awkward seeing that. And that tells you everything you need to know about how society is screwed up. A man who is in shape would choose to date a woman who's not in shape. It can be frustrating at times, man. I'm not gonna lie. Because it gets annoying when you constantly have to see the double standards and the hypocrisy. And no one seems to want to point that out. Everyone wants to make it seem like, we have to protect women's egos at all costs. I say no, forget that. These women are getting more and more out of shape, and they're raising out of shape children. Have y'all seen who are overweight, who are raising children who look like they're going to be overweight as well? And these children are small. Feeding them the wrong types of foods because the woman is too lazy to cook healthy food. Put effort into when you go grocery shopping and not buying a bunch of junk food. I'm not saying that you have to eat vegetables every day. I'm saying that you need to mix it up. Get them used to eating healthier food. Get them out of the damn house. Get them into some activities. Let them be around their family members. You know what I'm saying? So they could be more active socially. Because a lot of times when you see a lot of overweight people, it's because they're not active socially. I didn't really start gaining more. I didn't. I've never really been a fat person. I've always been a big built guy. Like football big. Because I played football in middle school and high school. I looked like a defensive end. So I carried my weight fine, but there are other people who really didn't carry their weight that good. And it was very obvious. And you can tell that they don't do much, Get out the house. They don't, because I know when I was younger, I was really, really small when I was younger and I was playing around with friends or family members. I was a lot more smaller then. But when you get older, you put on weight, I had like a growth spurt when I was like 14. I think I gained about 80 pounds from the time I was like 14 and 15. Like I had a huge growth spurt. I grew a few inches, and I grew in weight. Like I was real bulky, like real stocky and bulky, and I think I was, what, 6'1". So yeah, I was real, stout. So uh, I looked like a grown man as a ninth grader. So, but but there are people though who they they weighed less than me and they look terrible. Um, but it was mostly females. Like in school, there weren't really a lot of fat guys. There were a few, maybe, but there were a lot of fat females. I mean, there were a lot of them. And those females thought they were the best thing in the world because they had a vagina and because they were around a lot of thirsty, lame dudes. And that's also the neighborhoods they grew up in. They grew up because they're around a lot of lame, thirsty dudes. They get some attention. We all know of the fat chick who has a whole bunch of children because a lot of those men are lame and weak. They don't mind screwing a cum dumpster. They really don't. That's what we're in today. You have a lot of these overweight women who are out here choosing, and that's troubling. No woman who weighs over 250 pounds should be out here choosing anything except for a treadmill, except for a diet meal plan, except for a way to stop being an attention whore. Because you see these fat females on social media out here attention whoring worse than anybody. And people are liking their pictures. They're leaving all kinds of thirsty comments. It's ridiculous, man. And one thing you notice about these women is they always in these short-term relationships. They never in a relationship that's real long unless they're married. But if they're single, they can never stay in a relationship because they're out here getting with dudes who just want to sleep with them, and then the dude don't really want to deal with them like that. So she's constantly single. She's constantly on social media instead of being able out there adjusting and doing better. So is that fat shaming? It's just that I don't like the hypocrisy. I don't like how society wants you to um, accept these women when really you shouldn't have to accept them. They don't even accept themselves. They don't even do better for themselves. So why should I accept them? Why should I accept their undisciplined, being undisciplined? If you have children by this woman, your kids are going to grow up undisciplined because she can't even control the way she eats. She won't be able to control anything else. She won't have the energy. She won't want to do nothing all day. I mean, that's basically what it is. We need to have standards as men. And I believe a lot of us do have standards. But then you have that's making us not have standards. That's telling us that we need to accept these women with all the fucking flaws that they have. I say fuck that. I'm not going to accept that. I refuse to accept that. I'm not going to I'm not going to let people be hypocrites and not speak on it, because I'm going to speak on it. If men have to be in shape, if men have to have money, if men have to be educated, if men aren't supposed to have children at a certain age, then women should be at the same rate. Because you have a lot of these women out here talking about they're educated and they're eligible, and these females got 2 or 3 kids. The women who are out there talking about how they're educated and they're successful and they can't find a good man who fits their standards, usually these women already have children on their own. They don't talk about that in the media. They just talk about these useless degrees and these mid-level corporate America jobs. but they're always bashing men and telling men what they're not doing. Are you in shape? Can you control your eating habits? Why can't you control your eating habits?